Welcome to Soul Spirit Stories, where every story touches your heart and reminds you that even in the darkest moments, kindness and courage can still shine through. Soft, emotional piano music begins in the background. It was a cloudy evening in a small town just outside Austin. The streets were quiet, the air smelled like rain, and the sky hung heavy with grey clouds. A single dad named Jack was finishing up his work at a small auto repair shop. His hands were stained with grease, and his shirt was drenched in sweat. The sign above the garage flickered weakly as he turned off the lights. Jack had been through a lot in life. His wife had passed away 3 years ago, leaving him to raise his 6-year-old son Oliver all alone. Every day was a struggle, but Jack never gave up. He worked hard, fixed cars all day, and spent every night reading bedtime stories to his little boy. As he closed the garage, Jack whispered to himself, "One more day down, buddy. One more step closer." He smiled faintly, thinking of Oliver waiting at home with his favorite toy car. He climbed into his old pickup truck, turned the key, and began driving through the dimly lit streets. But then, just as he turned a corner near the edge of town, something caught his eye. A small figure was running fast down the road. It was a little girl, maybe 8 years old, barefoot, her face streaked with tears. Her hair was tangled, and she was clutching something tight to her chest, a stuffed bunny. Jack hit the brakes hard. The truck screeched to a stop. The girl ran straight toward him, crying hysterically, "Please, please help me. They're beating my mom." Jack's heart froze. "What? Who's beating your mom?" She pointed down the road toward the sound of roaring engines. A group of bikers, at least 5 of them, were parked near a small house. The flickering porch light revealed men yelling, bottles breaking, and a woman's screams echoing through the night. Without thinking, Jack threw open the truck door and ran toward the sound. "Stay here," he shouted to the girl. "Don't move, okay? You'll be safe." But the girl ran after him, sobbing, "Please, save her, please." Jack slowed for just a second, looked at her terrified eyes and said softly, "I promise, I won't let anything happen to her." Background music swells, tense heartbeat rhythm. As Jack got closer, the scene became clearer. A woman lay on the ground, shielding herself from a biker who was yelling curses at her. She was bleeding from her lip, shaking uncontrollably. Jack's blood boiled. "Hey!" he shouted. "Get away from her!" The bikers turned in unison, their faces hard and angry. One of them, tall, covered in tattoos, wearing a black leather vest, stepped forward. "Who the hell are you?" he growled. Jack took a deep breath. "Someone who's not gonna let you hurt her." The leader laughed, a cruel sound. "This ain't your business, old man. Keep walking." But Jack didn't move. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, but something inside him refused to back down. He'd seen enough pain in his life. He couldn't watch another person suffer. The biker spat on the ground. "Guess we got ourselves a hero." Before Jack could react, the man swung his fist. Jack blocked it clumsily, but the second punch hit him hard in the jaw. He stumbled back but didn't fall. "Run!" Jack shouted to the woman. "Take your daughter and run!" The woman scrambled to her feet, limping toward the little girl, who stood frozen by the truck, crying. Jack swung back, landing a solid punch on the biker's stomach. The man groaned, doubling over, but 2 more bikers came forward. One shoved Jack into a wall. The other grabbed a metal pipe. Background noise, thunder, heavy breathing, rain starting to pour. The first strike hit Jack's shoulder, sending pain shooting down his arm. But he didn't give up. He grabbed the nearest wrench lying on the ground, probably dropped from his truck's toolbox earlier, and swung it in a wide arc. It hit the biker's hand, making him drop the pipe. "Get in the truck!" Jack yelled again. "Now!" The woman grabbed her daughter and ran to the truck. Jack stumbled backward, bleeding from his lip, his shirt torn. The leader of the bikers glared at him through the rain. "You've got guts, man," he said darkly. "But you just messed with the wrong crew." Jack didn't answer. He just climbed into his truck, slammed the door, and floored the gas. The tires screeched, mud splashing everywhere as the truck sped down the road. Inside, the woman clutched her daughter tightly, both of them sobbing. Jack's hands shook as he gripped the wheel. "You're safe now," he said softly, his voice trembling. "No one's gonna hurt you anymore." The woman looked at him through tears. "Why did you help us? You could have been killed." Jack's eyes stayed on the road. "Because someone once helped me when I thought my life was over. I promised myself I'd do the same one day." The truck drove for miles before Jack finally pulled over by a small diner that was still open. He helped the woman and her daughter inside, asked for towels, and paid for hot chocolate for both of them. The little girl finally stopped crying. She looked up at Jack and whispered, "Thank you for saving my mom." Jack smiled weakly. "You don't have to thank me, sweetheart. You're very brave." The woman introduced herself as Sarah. Her voice was soft but broken. They were my husband's old friends. I left him months ago because he became violent. I thought we were safe, but he found us again." Jack clenched his jaw. "You shouldn't have to live like that." Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I didn't know what to do. I had no one to call." Jack thought for a moment, then said gently, "You can stay at my place tonight. I have a spare room for my son's toys. It's not much, but it's safe." Sarah hesitated, but the little girl looked at her hopefully. "Mom, please?" Sarah finally nodded. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Soft instrumental music plays as they drive through the rain again. When they reached Jack's small house, Oliver ran to the door. "Daddy!" he said happily, then froze when he saw the strangers. Jack knelt beside him. "Hey, buddy, this is Sarah and her little girl, Lily. They needed a safe place tonight, okay?" Oliver smiled shyly. "Hi, Lily." The little girl smiled back, clutching her bunny. "Hi." That night, Jack made them tea, found extra blankets, and put on some cartoons for the kids, while Sarah sat quietly on the couch. She looked around at the modest little home, photos of Jack and Oliver, a small Christmas decoration still hanging even though it was months old, and the warmth of a man who never stopped trying. She whispered, "You're a good man, Jack." He shook his head. "Just a dad trying to do what's right." Sarah smiled sadly. "That's what makes you good." Later that night, when everyone had gone to bed, Jack sat by the window looking at the rain. He thought about the bikers, about how easily things could have gone wrong. And yet, somehow, fate had led him to that road at that moment. The next morning, the sun broke through the clouds. The kids played together on the porch, laughing, a sound Jack hadn't heard in a long time. Sarah came out holding 2 cups of coffee. "I called the police," she said quietly. "They arrested the bikers. My husband was with them. He's in custody now." Jack nodded slowly. "That's good news." She looked at him gratefully. "If it weren't for you, I don't know what would have happened." He smiled faintly. "You don't owe me anything. Just promise me one thing. Never stop fighting for your daughter." Sarah's eyes glistened. "I won't. You have my word." A few weeks later, life began to settle down. Sarah found a small apartment nearby, got a job at a bakery, and Lily started school, the same one Oliver went to. Jack often saw them at the park, laughing, free. He felt a strange peace watching them, knowing that one brave decision had changed not just their lives, but his too. One afternoon, Lily ran up to him at the park, smiling brightly. "Mr. Jack, look!" She handed him a crayon drawing of him, her mom, and herself, standing next to his truck, all smiling under a bright sun. Jack looked at it, his throat tightening. "That's beautiful, Lily," she grinned. "Mom says you're our angel." Jack chuckled softly. "I'm no angel, sweetheart. Just someone who couldn't walk away." Sarah walked up behind her, smiling. "Sometimes that's exactly what angels do." The wind blew gently as the two families watched the sunset together. A new beginning born out of courage, compassion and love. A soft piano fades back in. In a world where most people look the other way, sometimes one person's bravery can change everything. This is Soul Spirit Storiesy, where hearts meet hope and kindness always finds its way home.